When people play dirty, their first objective is not to defeat you logically, but to destabilize you emotionally. They want a reaction, because reactions create mistakes, and mistakes create weakness. A Machiavellian mindset begins with understanding this simple truth. The person who controls their emotions controls the outcome. Emotional reactions feel powerful in the moment, but they often expose intentions, reveal strategy, and hand over leverage. If someone insults you, spreads rumors, or attempts to provoke you publicly, the natural instinct is to respond immediately. Yet that immediate response is exactly what gives them information about your limits, your triggers, and your next move. Strategic thinking requires distance between stimulus and response. In that space of silence and composure, power is built. To think like Machiavelli is not to become cold or cruel, it is to become calculated. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of defending impulsively, you assess the motive behind the attack. Why are they provoking you? What are they hoping you will do? Often, people who play dirty are attempting to pull you into chaos, because chaos levels the field. If you remain calm while they become emotional, you automatically rise in perceived authority. Others begin to see the contrast. Your composure becomes a silent statement of control. Emotional discipline is not weakness, it is delayed strength. Calculation requires patience. When you refuse to react instantly, you gain time. Time allows you to gather information, identify allies, and choose a response that strengthens your position rather than merely satisfying your pride. A calm person can plan 3 steps ahead, while an emotional person focuses only on the current insult. This is where real advantage forms. If someone spreads misinformation about you, reacting defensively may amplify the narrative. But responding strategically, by reinforcing your reputation through action and credibility, undermines the attack without direct confrontation. The goal is not to win the argument, it is to win the long game. There is also a psychological shift that occurs when you stop reacting. Manipulative individuals feed on visible emotional impact. When they see anger, frustration, or desperation, they feel validated and empowered. When they see neutrality, they feel uncertain. Uncertainty disrupts their confidence. They begin to question whether tactics are working. Silence forces them to overextend, and overextension exposes flaws. By staying composed, you allow your opponent to reveal more than they intended. Emotional control also protects your image. In conflicts, observers rarely analyze every detail, they notice behavior. The person who appears calm and measured is often perceived as rational and credible. The person who appears reactive is perceived as unstable. Even if their anger is justified, Machiavellian thinking recognizes that perception shapes influence. Therefore, every reaction must be weighed not only for immediate satisfaction, but for long-term positioning. To never react and always calculate does not mean suppressing emotion entirely. It means channeling it into deliberate action rather than impulsive display. Anger can fuel strategy, frustration can motivate preparation. The difference lies in timing. You respond when it benefits you, not when you are provoked. In doing so, you shift from being controlled by circumstances to controlling them. When others play dirty, your greatest weapon is not aggression but restraint. In restraint, you create clarity. In clarity, you design strategy. And in strategy, you secure victory. Second, to anticipate betrayal before it happens is not about becoming paranoid, it is about becoming perceptive. Machiavellian thinking begins with the understanding that human nature is complex and often driven by self-interest. People change when incentives change. Loyalty can weaken when pressure increases. Alliances can shift when opportunity appears. The mistake most people make is assuming that today's behavior guarantees tomorrow's loyalty. A strategic mind never assumes permanence in human intentions. Instead, it studies patterns, motivations, and subtle signals long before conflict becomes visible. Betrayal rarely arrives without warning. It whispers before it strikes. It appears in small inconsistencies, delayed responses, unexplained defensiveness, or subtle shifts in tone. Someone who once supported your ideas may begin to question them publicly. A colleague who shared information freely may suddenly withhold details. A friend who celebrated your success may start minimizing it. These signals are often dismissed because people prefer comfort over caution. But Machiavellian awareness means paying attention to the uncomfortable details others ignore. Patterns reveal intention long before words do. To anticipate betrayal, you must detach emotionally from blind trust. Trust is valuable, but unchecked trust creates vulnerability. Strategic awareness means trusting while verifying. Observe how people behave under stress. Notice how they speak about others behind their backs, because eventually they may speak about you the same way. Watch how they handle power, because power reveals character faster than hardship. If someone consistently acts in self-interest at the expense of others, it is not negativity to expect similar treatment when circumstances shift. It is realism. Preparation is the second layer of anticipation. A Machiavellian mind always has contingency plans. If this partnership collapses, what is the backup? If this person withdraws support, who else is positioned to step in? If misinformation spreads, what systems protect your credibility? Anticipating betrayal does not mean sabotaging relationships. It means ensuring that your stability does not depend entirely on one individual. Independence reduces the damage betrayal can cause. When your success is diversified across multiple relationships and resources, no single act of disloyalty can dismantle you. Another key element is information control. Oversharing creates leverage for others. Strategic individuals share selectively. They reveal enough to build trust, but not enough to become exposed. If someone turns against you, the information they hold should never be powerful enough to destroy your position. This quiet discipline prevents emotional regret later. Many betrayals feel devastating not because they were unpredictable, but because too much access was granted without boundaries. Anticipation also strengthens emotional resilience. When you understand that betrayal is a possibility in any competitive environment, you are less shocked if it occurs. Shock weakens judgment. Preparedness sharpens it. If someone turns against you, instead of collapsing emotionally, you shift into response mode. You already considered the possibility. You already structured safeguards. This composure alone gives you an advantage over those who operate purely on assumption. Ultimately, anticipating betrayal is about strategic foresight. It is the difference between reacting to crisis and navigating around it. When you observe carefully, plan quietly, and protect your leverage, betrayal loses its power to destabilize you. Instead of being blindsided, you remain steady. Instead of scrambling for solutions, you execute prepared moves. And in doing so, you transform betrayal from a destructive force into a predictable risk that you were always ready to handle. To appear kind while acting strategic is one of the most powerful principles in Machiavellian thinking. Power does not always announce itself with aggression. In fact, the most effective influence often hides behind calmness, politeness, and emotional control. When people perceive you as harmless, they lower their guard. They speak more openly, reveal more information, and underestimate your awareness. This is not about deception for cruelty. It is about understanding that visible dominance attracts resistance, while quiet composure attracts access. Human psychology responds defensively to obvious threats. If you openly display ambition, superiority, or competitive intensity, others may unite against you. But if you present yourself as balanced, respectful, and measured, you create comfort. Comfort builds proximity. Proximity creates insight. The strategic individual understands that influence grows stronger when it is subtle. Instead of pushing authority, they allow others to grant it naturally. This reduces friction and increases long-term leverage. Acting strategic while appearing kind requires emotional intelligence. You listen more than you speak. You observe more than you reveal. In conversations, you encourage others to share their opinions and ambitions. As they speak, they unknowingly expose priorities, fears, and weaknesses. Information is power, and the person who collects it quietly holds an invisible advantage. There is strength in being underestimated. When others assume you are simply agreeable or passive, they rarely anticipate calculated action from you. This principle also protects your reputation. Overt manipulation damages credibility, but calm consistency builds trust. By maintaining a composed and respectful demeanor, you shape how others perceive you. Even if you make decisive strategic moves later, your established image of fairness softens resistance. People are more likely to interpret your actions as justified rather than aggressive. Perception shapes influence, and influence shapes outcomes. Strategic action does not require public declaration. Sometimes it means forming alliances quietly, strengthening your skills privately, or positioning yourself in opportunities before others notice them. It means preparing alternatives while appearing fully committed. It means thinking 3 steps ahead without revealing your roadmap. When conflict arises, you are already positioned advantageously, yet no one saw the preparation happening. Appearing kind also disarms hostility. If someone attempts to provoke you, and you respond with calm politeness, it unsettles them. Aggression expects resistance. When it meets composure instead, it often loses momentum. This psychological imbalance shifts control subtly in your favor. Your restraint communicates confidence. You do not need to dominate loudly because your strength is internal and calculated. However, this mindset requires discipline. It is easy to let pride demand recognition. It is tempting to display intelligence or superiority openly. But strategic patience understands timing. Recognition gained too early can invite unnecessary competition. Quiet preparation allows you to move decisively when the moment is right. When your actions finally become visible, they appear effortless even though they were carefully constructed. Ultimately, appearing kind while acting strategic is about controlled duality. Outwardly, you embody respect, composure, and fairness. Internally, you analyze, anticipate, and plan. This balance creates a powerful presence, one that does not rely on intimidation, but on foresight. When others finally realize your depth of strategy, you are already ahead. And by the time they attempt to adjust, your position is secure. Silence is one of the most underestimated psychological weapons in human interaction. When someone plays dirty, their strategy often depends on provoking you into speaking too much, defending yourself too quickly, or exposing your emotions under pressure. Words, when used impulsively, reveal intention, insecurity, and strategy. Silence, on the other hand, reveals nothing. It creates space, tension, and uncertainty shifts power. When a person attacks you verbally, spreads rumors, or attempts to corner you in conversation, they expect engagement. They expect explanation. They expect resistance. The moment you begin defending yourself emotionally, you enter their frame. You are now reacting to their move instead of controlling the direction of the exchange. But when you respond with measured silence, maintaining eye contact, calm posture, and emotional neutrality, you disrupt their expectation. They are forced to fill the space. In that space, people often reveal more than they intended. Silence also communicates confidence. Weakness often feels the need to justify itself immediately. Strength understands that not every accusation deserves a response. When you pause before speaking, you demonstrate that you are not pressured by the moment. This pause creates psychological weight. Others in the room begin to pay attention. The attacker may grow uncomfortable because their words are no longer producing visible impact. That discomfort can lead them to overtalk, contradict themselves, or expose insecurity. In trying to regain control, they often lose it. There is also strategic value in silence during negotiation or conflict. When someone makes a demand or delivers criticism, your immediate reaction gives them information. If you appear anxious, they sense leverage. If you appear angry, they sense vulnerability. But if you remain silent for a few seconds longer than expected, you create doubt. They begin to question whether they miscalculated. Silence forces them to reconsider their position without you saying a single word. In competitive environments, silence protects your plans. Oversharing intentions gives others time to prepare against you. By speaking less about your next move, you maintain unpredictability. Predictability invites manipulation. Unpredictability creates caution. When others cannot easily read you, they hesitate. That hesitation is advantage. Silence is not passive avoidance. It is active restraint. It requires emotional control because the impulse to defend yourself can feel overwhelming. Yet restraint builds authority. When you choose the exact moment to speak, rather than reacting instantly, your words carry more weight. Fewer words, delivered with clarity and composure, often influence more than long emotional explanations. Moreover, silence enhances observation. When you are not focused on speaking, you notice tone shifts, body language, and subtle inconsistencies. These details provide insight into intention. Many people expose their strategy not through what they say, but through how they behave when confronted with quiet resistance. Ultimately, silence unsettles manipulators because it denies them feedback. They cannot measure success if you show no visible reaction. Without reaction, their tactic feels incomplete. This psychological disruption creates imbalance, and imbalance creates opportunity. By mastering silence, you learn that power does not always speak loudly. Sometimes it waits, and in that waiting it wins. Protecting your reputation at all costs is one of the most strategic principles in Machiavellian thinking, because reputation is not just about what people think of you, it is a form of invisible power. In every social, professional, or competitive environment, perception shapes influence. People decide whether to trust you, support you, fear you, or oppose you based largely on the image you project and the stories they hear about you. Once your reputation is damaged, even slightly, you are forced to spend energy defending yourself instead of advancing. A strategic mind understands that guarding perception is not vanity, it is survival. When people play dirty, one of their first tactics is to attack credibility. They may question your integrity, exaggerate your mistakes, or subtly plant doubt in others' minds. Direct confrontation can sometimes amplify the issue, drawing more attention to accusations that might otherwise fade. Instead, protecting reputation often requires a calmer and more calculated response. Strengthen your work. Increase your visibility in positive ways. Let consistent action contradict false narratives. Over time, credibility built through repeated proof becomes stronger than rumors built on noise. Reputation is built on patterns, not isolated moments. That is why consistency is critical. If you are disciplined, reliable, and composed over a long period, one attack will not easily destabilize your image. But if your behavior fluctuates, critics gain material to use against you. Strategic individuals understand that every interaction contributes to a long-term narrative. The way you respond under pressure becomes part of that story. Staying composed during conflict reinforces strength. Reacting emotionally reinforces doubt. Another key aspect of reputation management is selective transparency. Not everything needs to be public. Oversharing personal struggles, strategic plans, or internal conflicts gives others leverage. The more access people have to your vulnerabilities, the easier it becomes to distort your image. Controlled communication protects your position. Speak deliberately. Share achievements confidently, but without arrogance. Address issues only when necessary and with clarity, not emotion. Alliances also protect reputation. When respected individuals vouch for your character, attacks lose credibility. Building strong relationships before conflict arises acts as insurance. If someone attempts to undermine you, your established network becomes a silent defense system. Trust built over time cannot be easily replaced by sudden accusations. Importantly, protecting your reputation does not mean obsessing over every opinion. It means focusing on the perceptions that matter those held by decision makers, allies, and your core audience. Not everyone needs to approve of you. In fact, in competitive environments, complete approval is unrealistic. The goal is not universal admiration, it is strategic respect. When your reputation is strong, opportunities come more easily. People assume competence before you prove it. They give you the benefit of the doubt in uncertain situations. They hesitate before challenging you unfairly. This psychological advantage reduces the need for constant defense. Your name itself carries weight. Ultimately, reputation is long-term leverage. Money can fluctuate, positions can change, alliances can shift, but a carefully built image of competence, composure, and strength travels with you. Protect it with discipline, strengthen it with consistency, and when others attempt to attack it, respond not with panic, but with performance. In the end, perception shapes reality, and those who control perception control the game.